Don't pretend you ever forgot about me. Oh, oh.
Oh, it's gonna be rushed. With the bass.
Right, bro. To the right.
When I get home, won't you help me pick off the pieces? Hammer in your final nail and lean me up against Jesus. Baby, when I get home, won't you help me pick off the pieces? Hammer in your final nail. Help me believe, help me believe, help me baby, when I get home. Won't you help me pick up the love pieces? Hammer in your final nail. I wanna believe, I wanna believe.
Show about to start soon. But let's watch Dave jam out right here. You see the broken string right there. We see Dave Matthews. He's strumming along. That looks like that's the high E string that is broken. Watch this here. He's going to put his guitar down slowly. He's going to do the spinorama and then spin back. Whoop! Jump number one. He's going to keep walking. He's pointing down. And whoop! Jump number two. Mr. David John Matthews. It's your boy Concert Viz 34. Cue the intro.
It's your boy Concert Viz 34 back at home.
What up, what up? It's your boy Concert Viz 34.
Yep, so your boy Concert Viz 34 coming to you here.
What up, what up? It's your boy Concert Viz 34. Aria. Okay, so this is Aria, and just tell us a little bit about yourself and about your love for the Dave Matthews Band.
I've been a fan of the band since April 28, 1998, and if you recognize the date, that's when Before These Crowded Streets was released.
Alpine is definitely a better venue than Summerfest, but we'll take it. I think I've been going to shows for about 20-something years.
I always tell people, like, compare DMB to now to when I first started, and I got started, in my opinion, I feel like I got started late. Like, I was at the very end of the band's prime. I feel like that 03 to 06 was like the end of the prime. 07, 08 was like, you know, we're at the very end, and then when Roy passed.
But Dave really, this is the thing, Dave has put, where Sean has been assigned the quarterback of this team. He is the coach, the play caller. He designs the jams. Dave just shows up and plays whatever he's going to play. Shout out to Florida. Fort Lauderdale. What up? Hollywood, Florida in the building. Shout out to everyone in Hollywood, Florida. St. Augustine, how y'all doing in St. Augustine? Jupiter, Florida. How y'all doing in Jupiter, Florida? Shout out to all the average Joes in Palm Beach. Or wait, is it the other way around? Is it? I know one side has more money. I think Palm Beach is more expensive. In West Palm Beach, that's the average citizens, right? Yeah, I think I got it wrong. Shout out to Miami. 305. I know y'all just down 95. Hit that like button, folks. Don't forget to hit that like button. and the band, Dave Matthews Band, is back. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's your boy Conserviz 34. Hope you guys enjoyed your time away from DMB things. I sure did. Had a lot of fun. I went to Yankees Red Sox last Saturday with the DMB fan. Shout out to Matt S. He's up there in Watkins Glen, New York this week. But he hooked me up. He has some tickets. He's a season ticket holder and got some tickets for, and then said, hey, come along. So shout out to him, and the Yankees won. The Yankees haven't been winning in a while, but we want to talk about DMB. I was talking to some people that were at the show. During the show, I was looking on social media. Shout out to Lauren and Mark Madera. I know they was out there. And no break free. Sorry, Lauren, no break free, no stone. But that just means it's gonna happen tomorrow. So that's all it means. It's gonna happen tomorrow. This show, let's pull it up here so you guys can see it and zoom in. This show is a welcome back show, but by welcome back, they're kind of getting their gears together. Now, shout out to Steven. Steven was on my DMB roundtable. He couldn't make it tonight for the actual post show, but I was talking to him during the show. He said Dave's voice sounded great. The energy was not the same as SPAC and Alpine, but that's understandable. This is a rescheduled show. This is Florida in August. Our first Crystal says Dave said he saw a butterfly. Yeah, he didn't play anything. He didn't play Ocean and the Butterfly or Butterfly, but apparently Dave's fly was down during the show at the beginning. But I guess for some people, I think some of the crowd probably would have they were enjoying that. But yeah, his fly was down allegedly, from what I heard. Someone messaged me and told me that. Tony C says our Yankees, yeah. Our Yankees, yeah, man. I saw I'm blessed. I saw a win last Saturday. They just been struggling. You can't sustain a bunch of home runs. You got to get base hits. You have to have consistent hitting in the playoffs. And this is an odd thing for the Yankees. They are extremely far ahead of the pack in their division. They've slipped from the number one spot in the league, but as far as record, but I mean, it is what it is. Nathan Wallace says, glad to be making my way for tomorrow's set. Can't wait. Nathan, were you at the show tonight, or are you just going tomorrow? I'd love to put it in the comments. Shane, shout out to Shane. Now, Shane is awesome. Shane hooked a brother up with some tie-dye shirts. Got my fiance and some of the rest of the family some shirts. So we appreciate that. So shout out to Shane from Colorado. You and Angie are awesome, and I really appreciate that gift of your tie-dye making. I know some other people, Jen and Hines, I think you guys got some typical times. I believe you got some tie-dye as well. Yes, Hines says, thank you, Shane. I love mine. Hoping to get my first guest on. Let's see. I'm going to give him a little more time. But from what I heard, the band sounded great in person, right? Some of you guys were watching the stream. Some of you guys are watching the stream from the couch tour, people streaming from the actual show. But, people who were at the show said it, it sounded great. Band, Dave's voice sounded really solid. Just obviously people who had been to other shows, just it's different. This is a different vibe. West Palm Beach has some great shows, but it's just a different vibe. It's hotter than some of your northern shows like in SPAC and Deer Creek. Even though those places get hot, it's just Florida's a different hot, so that does play a factor. Now, this set list, if you were going, I think this set list, let's just flat out, right? People, this is a cookie cutter set list. I mean, you have a Lover Laid Down, only the 5th of the year. Crystal says Dave complained about his voice. No way after such a long break. I think he enjoys self-deprecating humor. Perhaps, maybe he just was struggling because sometimes it's hard to get things rolling again. I think if you went to show, now listen, a lot of people go to these shows, and you're going to these shows because it's about being with people, and it's also just about hearing the band. There's people who go to shows, and this is a completely fine, and it's just, hey, I'm next to Dave, I'm next to Rashawn, I'm with the boys. It's a beautiful night. It's another day to be blessed to be able to be alive and see this band, right? And you're going to be happy. But I think for people who travel to a bunch of shows and go to a destination weekend like this show was, from a set list standpoint, it didn't really have much to offer. You have When the World Ends opening up, right? And that's like it's just, this song needs to go, like, listen, I know it's like, post C19 or whatever you want to call it. The world's going crazy, but this song just to be an opener, like, I think that song is just, it's not that good. Song that Jane likes. I was actually listening to Live Tracks 58. I jogged 4 miles today, and by the way, Live Tracks 58, Deer Creek, heck of a run. Stone into Drive In, Drive Out. And start off, but I listened to a song that Jane likes, and I heard some of this on the stream. Someone was live streaming on Instagram. A couple people, Steven and someone else, I think. Or no, not Steven. The pod that Jane likes. Shout out to that crew. That they were live streaming from that account. And I think, listening to the acoustic version, the Leroi Moore era version of this song today during my jog, Live Track 58, and then listening to the stream today, I just think it was, the post Roy version with the electric guitar isn't as good as that acoustic, Roy era version. Here's what I'll say about this, Hines. Dave does read the room. Dave reads the room, and his set lists are reflective of the crowd. And here's the thing about West Palm Beach. The energy here was not the same as SPAC. It was not the same as Alpine. It was not the same as Deer Creek. And I know this because Steven went to all those venues, and Steven messaged me on Instagram and said it wasn't the same energy. West Palm Beach, you have a lot of fans who do travel to this from other parts of the country, but this is not like, this is the first, like the Gorges, obviously, weekends that are going to be bigger than this weekend coming up. Gorge weekend, Fiddlers weekend, right? You could argue the Hollywood Bowl is going to be bigger than this. This was a makeup show, but you got to remember West Palm Beach. I think he was reading the vibe because this, is a makeup show. You have a lot of people that shuffled in and out. I also think if you put this show and they have a crazy show, some people that couldn't make it back would be a little bit frustrated. But this is also a show, the first show back in a while. You can't just come out the gates. Well, you can. We've seen in 2010 the amazing runs. Like, now I'm talking about coming off some sort of break, right? The opening Hartford shows in 2010 were amazing, the Liberations. But that's a band, that's over a decade ago. That's 12 years ago. So I think this is a show to get their bearings. You get a mid-set Tripping Billies, you get Madman's Eyes, you get a Lover Laid Down, which is rare for this era of the band. You get a Nancy's Gray Street ending. And then also you get Pay for What You Get the third time in this venue and the third time of the tour. The encore was the best part of this show from just seeing the reactions from Twitter and just from what I see on paper and combining those two. The encore was the best part. I love the Lying in the Hands of God tribute. That is I said this on Instagram yesterday, that's the ultimate tribute to Leroi. I think you come the thing with this show, you have a series of unfortunate, um, mediocre, subpar songs. You have a post Roy era satellite. You have a When the World Ends opener.
Bruh.
You have a Samurai Cop.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Shout out to Steven Rack. Steven was on Instagram Live, like, all right, what's next? I'm ready to like share with this with the world. And I appreciate you guys sharing on Instagram when you're at the show. And he's ready to go. Oh, what's Dave gonna play? Maybe it's the only thing because he has this Les Paul Jr. Nope, it is Samurai Cop. Right? You have 41 Squirm brings it back up. Grace to Tripping, Walk Around the Moon. But then you have a Sledgehammer. You have Lover Lay Down, which is awesome, but then Can't Stop. Hands of God and Rooftop are pretty good. You and Me. Right? But then Nancy's Gray Street, Pay for What You Get, Two Step. That is a great way to end the show. So that's kind of how I feel there. Crystal says, I was surprised with Pay For. Every other show this year had a Dave solo song for song one of the encore. Are you talking about shows you went to? Because this is the third Pay For What You Get that we've gotten. So we had this at the end of in July. We got two Pay For What You Gets, and then we now go into August and we have one. But you do have a lot of Dave solos that were more frequent in the first leg of this tour. But the end of this first leg of the tour had a couple of those Pay For What You Get. So that was kind of a thing they have brought out for 3 times. Interesting that and this is where West Palm Beach, the history of West Palm Beach, they've already gotten 2 Pay For What You Gets already. That's pretty special for such a rare song. Hines is saying, I'm just trying to put myself in his head when he made this set list out. I just don't get the flow. I mean, you start off with When the World Ends. Again, this is a makeup show. This is the beginning, and it's hot in Florida. You start off with When the World Ends. You set the tone there. Jane to Satellite. You get some upbeat. Madman's Eyes gets dark. Samurai Cop gets happier. 41 and Squirm kind of set the thing. You slow it down with Grace. Bring it up with Tripping. Billy's in that 9, 10, and 11. That's high energy. Billy's Walk Around Sledgehammer. You cool it down with Lover Lay Down. You bring it up with Can't Stop for a song. Then you slow it down with Lion and Hands of God. You bring it up with Rooftop. You bring that love song in with You and Me. Nancy's a Gray Street. I just think it was a show that was meant to just get their bearings. We'll see what they play tomorrow. But this is not in the sense of, yes, you have people traveling, but this is not on the, like, West Palm has gotten some sneaky good shows. 2007 was a phenomenal year. You've had some other years, but even in other years, Tampa has been low-key better than West Palm. It's hot out. The band's older. Crystal says, I try to remember, can't remember it all. Wasn't there another Pay For? No. Pay For What You Get was in the encore for Raleigh. Right? It was Raleigh. Wasn't that the last one? And then it was SPAC. It was the same encore. They repeated the encore. So that was 722. Yep, Raleigh. So Raleigh and SPAC had the same encore. Pay For What You Get, full band, and then Too Much Fake in the Halloween. So this is the third time that we've had Pay For What You Get. This is the first time this year we've had a Pay For What You Get 2-step encore. Yeah, hi. Are you a musician? The thing with the DMB set list, there's flows in the sense. Now you'll have some great nights where they just play their heart out, and it's like a special night, and they just have another gear for that. Kind of like pros when they get to the playoffs, right? Oh, it's okay, Crystal. Don't worry about this. My bad. Just missed a few live streams. But the thing about these set lists is you have these rotations, right? You have high energy, you slow it down, right? Dave gets a break from his acoustic guitar with Sledgehammer. He dances, he slows it down with Love Will Lay Down, he speeds it up with Can't Stop. Now, again, I don't like Can't Stop. I'm not a fan of Sledgehammer more than once during a tour that I experience it. And even so, I'd rather just go missing, if I'm honest. You don't get a Fool in the Rain here, but you don't get a Watchtower, right? And I don't like Watchtower. Some people, I mean, I know a lot of people do. I don't. But, listen, Satellite, like I said, I went through all these songs that were so, in my opinion. But the crowd, again, this crowd is a unique crowd. You have people who bought tickets, and you have a lot of fans who couldn't reschedule this, right? Kids are back in school. Now, it was Labor Day weekend, so let's just say some people have families and stuff. People got a babysitter for Labor Day weekend, drop them off at grandma's, and we're flying to West Palm, or they brought their kids. But now their kids are back into football, back into fall baseball. They're back in that school mode, and it's not Labor Day weekend, so you can't make this trek. But I just think overall the band plays to the crowd. If this was SPAC, if SPAC had to be canceled because of or rescheduled, you would not get this set list. And if you got this set list at SPAC, I think it would be legitimate to be like, hey, what's going on? I think it would be legit to be like that. I'm trying to get this to Mark. Let me try to send this on Facebook and see if we can get him. He may be stuck up. I know Mark is a taper. We're going to try to get Mark on. You guys have seen him. He's been our Southern correspondent here. Let's see. I'll try to get him on Facebook. Thank you guys for coming in. If you're new, I hope you look forward to these. If you're going to a show and, are able to safely talk to us, what I do is I send a link out and I can connect you almost like a Zoom call to this. Now, and here's the thing. West Palm is no slouch of a venue. They've always been a top tier venue. Yes and no. Because here's the thing. Even if we look at the history of West Palm Beach, let's go back to some let's go to previous show at this venue. Oops. So we have this 2021. Now, yeah, you did get Hello again, right? You got a Stolen Away, Rhyme and Reason. So I mean, this is the night 2. Let's look at night 1. Seek Up Crash. This is 21. This is 2021. 7/30/21. I mean, this is night 1. This is night 1. So remember, let's look at night 2. Because look at night 1. Seek Up, Crashing to Me. Now, yeah, a Seek Up tonight would have been special. Crashing to Me would have been better than some of the other hits that they picked. But you have When the World Ends, Satellite. Now, Sweet Up and Down was in rotation. Sweet recently. This stuff is cool. But then you have Funny the Way It Is. You had Walk Around the Moon. But they had Jimmy Thing 7, Where You Going? You and Me, Don't Drink, Bye, You Shake Me. So this is probably like a below average West Palm Beach show we got tonight, but this is night 1 in 2021. Yes, you have a Sweet Up and Down and recently, one of 2, but it wasn't lights out. The second night had a lot more punches, right? You have a Stolen Away, Rhyme and Reason, Stone, Ocean and the Butterfly. You have, which I like that song. I know some people don't. You had a Hello Again, right? A Boa, Best of What's Around, a 41 opener. Crystal says, I wish the Gorge had more light like West Palm Beach. I know part of the fun is the middle of nowhere, but dang, the lawn can be so hard to navigate. Probably just showing my... No, it is. It's very, very, very hard to navigate. I pretty much, once that sun sets, I'm staying put. I don't know your age. I'm not gonna ask your age, but I'm 31, and I was 30 and 28 in my gorge, my two gorge appearances. But it's hard. It's hard to see anything, and it's just such a there's no real breaks in the actual lawn. So it's like it's kind of like because at least Alpine has chunks. Alpine has chunks. Oh, you're 41, awesome. But Alpine has like certain lawns. Lawns are hard in general, but certain like Alpine has a couple different sectors of the lawn. Meet by the tree, right? You can show by that big tree, and but like the gorge is just one big hill, so it's hard to find people. A lot of people have glowing hats and glowing halos and like light up rose hat, rose light up rose headbands. So it is harder. Um, Hopefully we can get a guest. Now, what I want to do while we're waiting to hopefully get Mark, let me check the Instagram poll because let's take. I'm gonna put this up here. I want to talk about the poster situation. And I'll put the in the chat here. We're gonna talk about the poster situation. And shout out to DMB Society. Tonight marks the second time in the last 7 years that When the World Ends has opened the show. That history can stay there. I don't think we need another When the World Ends opener. All right, so this is what they said, and this is what the band said here, and it's on the ticker as well. In line with the band's mission to minimize environmental impacts, the posters for the Dave Matthews Band concerts in West Palm Beach on August 20th and 21st will be sold with the original May dates and can be found at the merch booths inside the venue. Now, if we go back to May, they had all the posters shipped. Right, the posters were ready to go. They were printed out. This is, the DMB posters are on good quality print paper. It's not the thinner ones. If you're looking at my screen right now, behind me is my Allman Brothers Band poster from the last run. Here's what I'll say about this. First, let's look at the Allman Brothers situation behind me. So Allman Brothers Band in 2014 were going on their final run of shows ever. Supposed to be I think it was around March of 2014. Greg Allman gets bronchitis, and essentially they had Susan Tedeschi try to sing for a couple of shows. Just listen, hey, they stopped it after a couple of shows. Susan's amazing, but people wanted to see Greg, right? Greg Allman on the keys. So they then just postponed and moved the shows to October of 2014. I was fortunate enough to get tickets to the show on my birthday, October 21st, 2014, and see an awesome show. The poster behind me is, and we'll talk about Hines. I see your post about Jesse. Jesse Stone is awesome. He does amazing things on playing Dave Parks to a T. So shout out to Jesse Stone. But the poster behind me is a thinner, like almost like a plastic-like paper, a thinner paper. It's not the thick poster paper that you get DMB prints on. And it's a print. The poster is essentially, it was one poster for the entire final run. So they had 2,000 posters that put all the dates, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, whatever those dates were. So the Allman Brothers sold some posters for 2 shows with the original run in March. And then, so they got 2 nights of sales. And then they postponed the rest of the dates and never sold any more of those type of posters. And they made a new print for, again, the run. It says 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and so on. It's a thinner paper. It's not as in-depth as these pieces of art here. It was more just as a hey, a keepsake for the weekend, right? The value in that poster behind me is it's a keepsake for the weekend. It's not really worth much in the sense because it wasn't a special poster. There are Dave Matthews Band posters that are worth much more than my Allman Brothers poster behind me. To me, the special meaning is that I was there. I would never, if this poster sold out, I wouldn't buy it on the secondary market. Hey, I was there. I got it for face because it's such a thinner poster. So I say that to say that is an example of something that was rescheduled and they did reprint, but they sold 2 nights of it. The posters you see right here, these are unique artistic creations for specific nights, night 1 and night 2 of the West Palm Beach run, and it was supposed to be originally for May. I believe they made the right decision by allowing these posters to still be sold at the shows tonight. Now, some people say, hey, there's a market for people to buy these posters. Jesse Stone said this, and listen, I respect Jesse Stone. He knows his D&B. Says, take the proceeds and plant a few more trees. First, here's my thing. These posters would not sell well if they were released to the public. Now, if you had a Todd Slater poster like Virginia Beach, or that was Bristol, right? Not Virginia Beach, it was Bristol. If you have a Todd Slater well poster, that thing would have sold out. But here's the dilemma you have if you're any band, and this is why no other band has said, hey, we're going to sell our original run to the public and then make 2 new prints. If a poster is very, very well done, it's a Grail poster or just a top 5 poster of the year, the fans who come back to West Palm Beach, if these posters were grade A, best of the best, everyone who came back would have wanted a shot to get that poster at the show. So if it's a good poster, you want to sell it at the show. I think these posters are okay. They're average to below average, in my opinion. So at this point, why would you then say, hey, we're going to sell these to the public? These things would not sell out online. I'm telling you, unless they all were for it, and they're not all for it. Because remember, they had runs just like a show was going to happen in May, right? Someone caught C19 and they had to pull it literally the day of, hours before people started to find out. Hours before the tailgate is when people found out. Some people with early tailgating got in the lots. So these posters were ready to go for the weekend. So you could say, oh, sell these posters for, no. These posters would collect dust, and these posters are probably still going to be available. I would love to hear from people. And if you're watching this replay and you were at the show, let us know if there were any of the night 1 posters left. But this whole, sell it to charity, no, this poster would not hit. And if a poster was good enough to be sold off to charity, the people who went to the shows would be extremely upset. If you had a Todd Slater whale poster or a Deer Creek night 2 poster from 2022 or a Alpine night 2 poster, if they rescheduled those shows, like Jimmy Buffett, shout out to Connor's at his first Jimmy Buffett show at Alpine. If the Alpine show was rescheduled, the weekend was rescheduled to this weekend because of a thunderstorm like Jimmy Buffett, people would have wanted that night 2 poster as they show up to Alpine in August. So it's a tough dilemma, and I think they made the right decision. Now, here's what I would have done. I wouldn't have brought up the environmental impacts. I would have not. Now they may believe in that, but if it's truly about the environmental impact, why are you printing posters? You're trying to plant trees and you're trying to sell posters? Like, if it's all about the environment, have no posters. No. Oh, they ain't going to do that. They have live track posters, right? So this whole idea, hey, Connor, oh, you're back from Jimmy. I'm glad. Oh, glad to see DMB's back. But I just think two new prints. So Hines is saying, and this is great discussion. This is a great point. I don't think two new prints were necessary, but a secondary print with a small one would have been appreciated by the fans. I think that is something that you could have done, but I think the challenge is you don't want to override the original artist. I think what would have happened if they would have had a secondary print, and I believe who just had that? I think it was Goose. Goose just had at Red Rocks had two different prints. Was that Goose? There was somebody this week who did. I believe it was Goose. But the thing is, if they had a secondary print, I guarantee you it would outdo. For the first time ever, Connor had Wi-Fi at Alpine. Oh my, let's give it up for that. And Connor is, from, the northern Illinois, or the suburban Chicago, we'll call it. He's out there. So Alpine is a quick drive for him, just going north. So shout out to Connor. He's an Alpine vet. His father has been going to shows before he was born for D&B in the Midwest. So shout out to him. And I know his sister goes to shows with them as well. But I think the problem with the limited run, it would overshadow the original art. Imagine being the method. I think this is a methane poster. It's too challenged. It's too much to try to have another run of posters, even if it's limited edition. It's just too much. I think they did the right thing. If you disagree, that's fine. I think you have a right to that opinion. And Hines, I think you do make a good point about the fact if they had a smaller run, make it limited, maybe you do generate some buzz at the venue and you have something that shows the dates. But I just think that there's no precedent. Like we can't pull from, like, let's say anyone, like you can't pull from other artists and say, okay, this is when they had a print ready to go and they canceled the show hours before. And here's where they rescheduled it and they made a new print. There's no precedent for that. This is kind of rare territory to have a rescheduled show, but then to have a print right there. We've had entire concerts and entire tours postponed or canceled, but like it wasn't like they were rolling out the poster that day. Right? It was like weeks before or days before, and things aren't all done. What does Hines say? The original art was suspect at best. The new print might have drove the original date print. No, it wouldn't have. No. It's a new print wouldn't have driven the original. It just gets too complicated because some people, and listen, someone online said, hey, I wish, like someone said, I should be able to buy the print. Like they can't, I don't, like, because I originally had tickets. The people who had tickets to the West Palm Beach shows, and maybe they couldn't make it, they should have had first dibs at the posters that was out tonight and out tomorrow. I just think that's too complicated. Because who's to say, like, and then, okay, if there's a bunch of people who want this print or don't want the print, how do you ration that out? I just think they made the right decision. There's too many things that are complicated about this. And I know they have the Gray Street post. They have the song lyric posters. Every day's got one. Gray Street, I think, was 41 that one. But that's a separate thing. That's a separate subset. I just think it is way too complicated to have another set of posts. And really, again, it's like, come on, guys. Like, and again, it's too much. And you contract. Think about this. Now, you do have sometimes, like, you do have a show rescheduled and the opener changes. But imagine if the whole crew was able, like the whole DMB road crew, right? Imagine if the bus driver, they're like, hey, you did well for this May run for West Palm Beach, but we're gonna replace you with this. Or hey, you're the promoter of this of the West Palm Beach shows. We're gonna go with a different promoter for the rescheduled dates. Like, I think you want to try to keep everything as similar as possible to a degree, right? you don't want to really go out of what it is because it's rescheduled. It's not canceled, it's rescheduled. That's an important thing. If they cancel these shows and then next year they have West Palm Beach, obviously you bust out different posters. Let's see on IG what people are saying. I'm going to look up the poll that I put up. So 58% of people on IG say keep the May posters, 42% say release new posters. I mean, it's still pretty close discussion on IG. And Instagram concert viz 34. You can go on. Here is my IG. I'll pull it up for y'all. Instagram concert viz 34. So check that out. And again, I'll show you the poll. Oops, didn't show. Well, it won't. I think it won't show you on the desktop, but it's. Speaking while we're on Instagram, let's go to DMB Brianna. Again, while we're waiting, we do have the best line in our graves contest. That's the DMB Brianna. Oh, DMB Brianna 10. Let me edit that. DMB Brianna 10 on Instagram. And what was cool is she was able to go to a Red Hot Chili Pepper show with her son. In the tour break, the DMB tour break, she got to go to a Chili Pepper show at T-Mobile Park where the Mariners play with her son, and that was an awesome concert. So the best line our graves, what we have here, I want to listen to these. Let's take out this. Let's take the ticker off. So we have best line our graves concert or contest. Hey, Mike D'Agostino, thank you for coming in. Good to see you again. We have 3 options. First one is going to be your Bella Fleck and the Flecktones line our graves. What makes this one special is, first of all, it's New Year's Eve, and you have Bella Fleck. None of the other 2 have Bella Fleck on banjo. That makes it a little bit special. Live track 7. We have Golden Gate Park 2004. This is a festival DMB did in San Francisco. And great show. Someone was just posting, I think it was our pal from the UK was posting that this morning. That Sugar Will is amazing. 41 is interesting. It's a little bit sped up. Aether's DMB on he was posting that one. And then we have one from the Muse in 1993 that's live tracks 30. I will say, without listening to these I haven't listened to these in a minute. The last one I probably heard was a live track 7 version. It's been months since I've listened to any of these graves. And I would say the top one, the Hampton Coliseum, is probably because it has Bella Fleck. I think when you have banjo and fiddle, that makes it special. You notice all these are Leroi Moore era, and that's for a reason. I think in the Roy era, Boyd was at his best. And I think in the Roy era, you had it just, again, acoustic percussively, this song is better. You don't need electric guitar, although Tim does some amazing things on it and fills in some things that can't be done because there's no violin. But with that said, it's better. It's better that way. I was gonna say, I would say live track 7 off the top of my head. How are you gonna say top 3 is with a guest? It's because the guests make it better. A two-step, like the live tracks 47 with Bella Fleck on two-step on that is amazing. Like when you have these guests, when you have Victor Wooten, when you have Bella Fleck, live in Chirac. Did Bella go on that 98 tour? Was he on that joint too? So that one didn't make the cut, John. It got, because you could vote from any live release. The Graves from 98, that was the last show of 20 of 98. Lion at Grace. I don't really listen to live in Chicago that much. Yeah, there's no oh, there's a number 40 intro. Okay. That's what it is. I would say anyone with Bella Fleck and a Boyd in tune would get it. John, if I know you just joined him, I'm waiting for my boy Mark to come on. He not. I hope he's all right, man. I got to text him. You good, fam? Must have been a bunch of people in every direction. Hey, shout out to people in every direction. We respectfully, not trying to cause no beef here. Shout out to all the squads there, people in every direction. Oh, here we go. Call me on your phone. Okay, I'm gonna call Mark, and so we'll get to Mark here, and we'll get him on the phone. He's saying hit him up on the phone. Okay. So I'm gonna turn this fan off. I hope you guys don't hear the fan. And this. All right, let me call Mark.
Marcus.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Doing well. So you're live on the stream. Tell us about this show.
So, pretty average set from Dave. I know Dave doesn't write the set list for me, obviously, or for anyone in particular, but it didn't really get going for me energy-wise for quite a while during the show, but I really liked the end. I liked Dancing Nancy sounded great. It's not being played as heavily as the beginning of the tour. Like, remember when I complained a few months ago that it was seemingly at every show? I don't feel like that anymore.
Okay.
Gray Street as a set closer, fantastic. Huge fan of Gray Street closing the main set. I think that's a great D&B song. And then the encore, I'm sure everyone would agree that that is the top-notch D&B encore. So leaving the show I thought it was absolutely fantastic. But earlier than that, it really just didn't get going for me with some of the quieter songs and the flow. The flow wasn't there. But, that happens sometimes. Not every set list is a grand slam.
Yeah, I mean, one of my thoughts was because some people were they decided to add these shows, and some of them, they paid a good pretty penny to get, a pit ticket. My thought was, if you were like you drove back for these shows, you already had your ticket secured. All right, you're probably not happy with the beginning, but overall you're happy. I think people who upgraded their seats and were chasing the energy of this band, I think you're probably a little bit regretting that decision. You agree with that?
Yes, and if you look at the 2021 West Palm shows, you may have already done this because you're very in tune with what's going on, but the 2021 West Palm, the Friday Sirius show, the first show last year, was about as standard as it gets. And so I left that show like, come on, usually like they blow it up in West Palm. Like usually in West Palm, one of the two shows is pretty big, in my opinion, at least energy-wise, if not set list-wise. Well, then they came back night 2 and had a great run in the middle of the show. I think we talked about it on stream earlier in the year where they did like Hello Again, The Stone,
Yes.
Rhyme and Reason, and then they did The Only Stolen Away, which, despite it not being a loud song, the rarity is great. So maybe tomorrow, West Palm Beach, we'll see what it gets. But it was interesting to me that for the first time for these shows, the larger crowd is going to be on night 1 instead of night 2. The crowd tonight was absolutely massive and everything that you would expect from a Saturday D&B crowd. Well, usually that's the second show, and tomorrow there's way more tickets available. Maybe the venue was not available. I think maybe they had Jack Johnson yesterday. I don't remember, but that's probably why they couldn't do Friday, Saturday, with it not being a holiday weekend this time.
Yeah, and just to give you, we talked about that. We talked about last year, night 1, although you had like your Sweet Up and Down, your Recently, there was Shake Me Like a By You and the Monkey was your last 2 main set songs. You and Me was played like tonight. Rooftop was played like tonight. You had, we talked about that versus the second night with the Stone, Hello Again, all that. I will say that one theme I have seen from the Gorge last year, Fish, when I talked to people who went to the Fish Atlantic City 3-night stand, when I went to Alpine this year, the Sunday shows for some of these artists just are not going to pull what they pulled in their prime, where you had 20-somethings that didn't have work the next day.
Right.
And I think that's it. That's almost like a industry-wide discussion for these bands who do 2-night or 3-night stands. Your Saturday night show is going to have your bigger crowd than your Sunday night. But the big swing here is last year, Saturday at West Palm Beach was a Saturday, right?
Right.
And this year you have Saturday, Sunday, Jack Johnson. It doesn't work. And then we even look at what could have been if this was Memorial Day weekend. You would have had a Saturday. Maybe you still get a smaller crowd Sunday, but you have a bunch of people that don't have to work the next day.
Right.
Maybe you have a couple people that they have ceremonies to remember, those who lost, but like most people are going to be able to stay that next day. And, it's an interesting turn. And I only see tomorrow being better.
Right. Absolutely. I 100% agree. I mean, I can't be as spoiled as I was at Raleigh with Stone and the epic encore and all that stuff every single show. But shows like this just make shows like that much greater when I do, with as many shows as I see, when I do encounter a show like Raleigh that's that great. I mean, in Virginia Beach, back to some standard stuff. But, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going to this many D&B shows, you're going to get shows like this, and you have to take what you're literally signing up to get, and that's totally fine with me. I jam many of these songs in the set, no problem, and the crowd was spectacular, and the vibes. I mean, I'm sure people have told you many times the sunsets at West Palm Beach, the way the venue's laid out, they're just epic, and it's always a great vibe in the crowd and all that stuff. So that adds to the show for me. So I did have a good time.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what was I gonna say?
Have you talked about the posters?
Yeah. So my take was this, and we'll let you talk about it. I'm gonna pull this up. My take is this. First off, there is no precedent for this situation. My thing was, I think they should have not gone that environmental route, and they should have said, hey, these posters, are going to be honored for these dates. These artists were selected to represent West Palm Beach. I think, yes, people may have wanted new posters, but my thing was these posters are fairly average. If they were good posters, people would want them back. If it was the Slater from Bristol and they decided not to sell it, or they sell it online only, fans would be upset. In this case, there's 2 average posters these aren't going to sell online. They're not going to sell online.
Exactly. There were stacks left at the encore break. So
right. So yeah, that's the thing is it wouldn't sell online, and so you put these posters out as is. Next year you have a different artist. Next shows that come up after this, Tahoe, Gorge, you have new posters, and I think you just keep it the same because there's too much controversy if you try to do a whole new poster. What was your take on this?
I think you nailed it probably as well as you could. I 100% agree with that. I can't tell if the posters being average is the reason why they didn't sell out, because I have gotten an awesome Eads poster. I think it was 2018. I bought after the show. I was walking out of the venue and was like, oh, they still have the poster. I should get it. And it was that really good Eads. And so I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't really pay enough attention to the West Palm posters. Some venues I do pay attention to see if they sell out immediately or not. West Palm, I'm not too in tune with it because I only buy one here or there for West Palm. So I don't know if this was standard that so many are left after the show, but I do agree with you that they are just middle of the road posters. And if they were epic posters, then myself included, along with all the other D&B fans, would want them to be sold. Part of me going into this show was like, well, maybe they'll have new posters just because the old ones were not great, but it does not matter to me enough to really care that they use the same posters again. I do agree that the environmental spin was quite weird coming from D&B, who very publicly post about taking private jets to drivable shows. I thought that was just strange, but
right.
If they would have gone your route with saying that to honor these artists and the work that they put in, that would have been a little better PR spin. But at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal to me.
Gotcha. And night one, I believe, and I can't. And if you guys are watching this, put in the comments if it sold out. Night one had this like Miami type vibe, or just like Florida type color vibe. That
Last
one
year.
was the better one, I think. I believe that one did sell out. Night two is the methane. Yeah. I don't remember if that, but I remember night one had that Miami vibe. I tie it to Miami. It just had those Miami colors that you even see.
Does.
But I do agree. This is the slippery slope with artists. I think artists, just like we've talked offline about Bruce Springsteen, you're better off, like when you try to play the environmental card, and when you try to, and I know, I'll just say this, I know, you love Dave and in what he stands for, right? I know you and I'll just go there, that you love what Dave stands for. But when you play the environmental card, when you play even with, and I think Coldplay does it well, right? They say, hey, there's these interactive exhibits. Here's our emissions. We even it out. But I think when you try this planetary thing and you're making thousands, if not millions of dollars off posters a year, and you're selling a Gray Street poster, and you're selling a everyday poster, and you're selling drive-in posters when during a pandemic, when there's actually like supply chain issues. Right. I just think it's a slippery slope. You're not gonna win it when you're as wealthy and successful as D&B. And me as an average Joe, I can show you my house, show you I can't afford a private jet, and show you, hey, I don't have a Prius, guys, but hey, look at my Prius, look at my this, look at my that. It's hard when you're this wealthy. You're using all sorts of private jets to just go up and down, as you said, to go from one part of Texas to another part of Texas, to just take off and land instead of taking a tour bus from Houston to Dallas or vice versa. It is a slippery slope, and I just think that was a wrong turn. This whole paper thing, the whole tree thing, to me is it even as, again, appreciating what the band stands for, I think it's a weird cause.
Right.
To me,
it's hard to take that seriously. To me, I 100% agree with you on that.
So yeah, any other thoughts? Any other? I guess the crowd itself, what was the crowd like, as far as like the reactions, the makeup of the crowd?
West Palm usually those Saturday shows, which is what today happened to be for the first show, gets huge crowds, and they're explosive on the lawn, and they're loud in the pavilion, and people are crowding the aisles and all that stuff. It was a great crowd. It's interesting to me that last year I did West Palm first and then Deer Creek. This year I did Deer Creek and then West Palm, only because of the reschedule. Deer Creek is probably a louder crowd. Deer Creek's probably the loudest I've ever seen. I've not been to SPAC and Alpine, and everyone says SPAC is the best. But the West Palm crowd to me is in the upper tier of the DMB crowds, and I really enjoy it. And the lawn is just really wild, but in a good way, and fun and packed, and people are running in circles on two-step and all the signature DMB songs. So I thought it was really good.
Yeah, and you did text me. It was cooler, you said, compared to other years.
Man, I'll tell you what, going into this West Palm, everyone's like, including myself, everyone's like, oh, it's in August, we're probably gonna die, because West Palm in July is like the hottest thing on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because at least down here, even in Georgia where I live, like 4 to 5 weeks ago, outside was pretty unbearably hot. And right now it's much cooler even down here. And so when I walked in the venue, I was like, already this is the coolest West Palm show temperature wise I've ever been to. And it was breezy. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was still humid and a little bit hot, but by far the coolest West Palm show I've ever seen. And I like that. I thought that was just funny because we all were thinking, oh my goodness, it's going to be disastrously hot, but it was not.
Gotcha. And I know it was rain. I have a friend out in Myrtle Beach. So I know like even Myrtle Beach yesterday was cooler. So perhaps that was there a tropical system?
There's one, I think, going towards South Texas, but I don't know about the Atlantic Ocean. There might be. I don't
know. Okay. So that maybe then that's just one of those things. Those tropical systems can cool things down. Still humid, but it'll take out that heat. Mark, shout out to Mark Madera. Over 200 DMB shows. He said Dave's voice was shot. Someone said Dave's voice was good. You're going to be the tiebreaker. How was Dave's voice tonight?
Did you watch the Couch Tour? He talked about his voice.
Oh yeah, well I didn't watch it, but someone, Crystal said something. He said something about his voice struggling, or
yeah, he said his voice was having a hard time, and he needed the crowd to help him out singing. I made the comment to the other taper that was there, Zach, not Kermit, the other Zach Money from New York, who now lives in Florida. Great guy. He's been around a lot longer than me. I was telling him if this was a Sirius XM show and we went back and listened to it, Dave's voice would probably sound shredded. But in the crowd, for me, it's really hard to tell just because of the great DMB mix. It sounds, counterproductive what I'm about to say, but it's hard to tell when Dave's voice is completely shot. He sounded just fine to me, but he did mention that his voice was, he was having a hard time with it. You could tell at the end to Pay for What You Get on the very, very high notes. He struggled doing that. Yes, that was very obvious to me. But otherwise, during the show, he's not hitting these super high notes, on so many songs in a row where I would, obviously notice this. I don't know. I mean, he was having a hard time, but it wasn't like blatantly obvious, except for Pay for What You Get for me. So
that's Mark. Just as you were saying that, Mark put that in the comments. Pay for What You Get couldn't hit the high notes. Now I know Rob is with Brandi Carlile. He has been, now maybe that's just but he could do it. But and listen, Rob has a roster of grade A musicians, from Justin Timberlake to Chris Stapleton to Dave Matthews to Brandi Carlile to Lizzo. Okay, he's helping Lizzo, who's become, a very like an icon, even beyond her music. So he has a lot of he has a lot of clientele that's popular, and he was with Brandy. He streamed last night from Brandy's show. So perhaps whether he flew, whether Rab flew from there here to there, maybe something with Rab, not being able to put that one-on-one time with Dave, perhaps, and maybe just having a virtual warm-up didn't help. Maybe it's just he's coming back, right? He's coming back from a vacation off shows, and it's rough, but who knows? We'll see.
I don't know too much tech wise about how the humidity or heat would play into that. I don't know if that would affect his voice, but I'm glad you mentioned the virtual warm up, because I've seen that Rob will do the virtual stuff either with Brandy on one end or Dave on the other end. I'm not sure. We'll see how tomorrow goes. These things happen to Dave. I mean, he's at that age where, for example, I didn't think he sounded good at the Raleigh show to kick off last year's tour. And of course, that's the longest break in between DMV shows in the band's history. So who knows? I really don't know how these things work with his voice. But obviously, some nights he's completely on and some nights he's not. Maybe it's his age. I don't know. But it's not too obvious to me all the time when it's a little off.
Gotcha. All right. Well, he'll come back tomorrow. We'll see how he sounds. We'll see what the set brings us. But thank you so much for being on, and have a good rest of your night.
Yep. Oh, one last thing.
Yep.
I know you've harped on this all year about the transportation stuff, about getting production and gear to the West Coast. I remember you brought this up like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. A crew member told me before the show that the entire PA that the band is using is rented, and it's actually a newer version than what DMB carries themselves and uses on tour, just because that's what was available. They're renting all that out for these 2 shows because everything else has already been driven out to the West Coast, and that the production stuff is scheduled, like 8-10 months out. So to reschedule these shows, they had to rent the gear, and I thought that was interesting. Not like the guitars and stuff, but like the backline. And then also I noticed before the show that they didn't even have the tour buses there for the band to just like chill in. I don't know if that's standard or not for quote unquote fly dates, to just drive them there, and the band, either the tour buses pick the band up at the airport and drive them to the show only, or how that works. But they had 0 tour buses at all. Not even Dave's was there, not a single one. So I thought that was very interesting for West Palm, at least.
Wow. So they had to literally rent some of the PA stuff for this show, because the rest of that gear was already
in Tahoe, right?
Wow. That's very interesting. And hey, thank you for getting that info.
Yeah, but I mean, you've talked all year about that. You're like, to get stuff. This is why this is the Marcus spiel. Like, this is why DMV does not do arena shows out west consistently, because to get all this gear out there is literally like incredibly difficult and costly, and it just doesn't make sense logistically. Well, now here we see the summer tour already. It's not easy to get something from the tip of Florida all the way to the other side of the country quickly.
Yeah, and it's just the stuff, when you have shows in the 90s where you just have such a more simpler setup versus a 2022. That is wow. So that's probably the best nugget we've gotten. Almost, that's a very, very cool tidbit there, and almost makes up for the show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but
funny.
Wow,
but I was thinking about that all show. I couldn't really tell a difference, but they said it was a slightly newer version than what the band has. But the crew is so good. The band sounded the exact same to me. I just thought, I was like, oh, I got to tell this to Marcus after the show. This is pretty cool.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, because that's gonna be a quick. That's gonna be a haul to bring Now they have time. Right. They have time, but oh wow. But thank you for bringing that up, and we'll hopefully connect with you tomorrow.
Yeah, man. Hope you have a good rest of your night, and talk to you then.
All right. Take care. Peace.
Yep.
All right. So thanks to Mark for that. Mark from Georgia. And yeah, that's really cool. And that was one of my things. And speaking of the tour, uh, there's not much new information with the with the fall/winter tour. The only things that have come out are some of the basketball schedules for the arenas, because the NHL games have been already out. The basketball schedules were just announced this week, and it doesn't really impact much. There's open dates for MSG. There's open dates for some of the other venues, but there's not much new that's coming as far as solidified dates. And I'll run the little ticker here. These are the dates that I am hearing about that actually have a physical date tied to them. The Chicago on the 14th, November 16th, Boston, November 17th in Connecticut. One thing I'm excited about, Goose is going to be coming here on November 11th. That's a Saturday. Goose and Trey Anastasio. And I am ecstatic. Just a quick side note. This has never happened. Actually, you've had Dave and Friends. Trey has hopped on with Dave and Friends, but that was Dave Matthews' group. It wasn't Trey. You're seeing, oh no, November 12th. November 12th is the show. November 12th, 2022 is the show that I'm going to be going to at Mohegan Sun Arena. But what you're seeing is, you're seeing Trey just be intrigued by a young band in a way he's never actually, like, Trey's like appreciated all the people in the community for jam bands, but he's never like actually said, hey, I want to go on a tour and collab with these guys for a set of shows. I'm so excited for those Goose and plus Trey shows, Trey Anastasio band shows. But back to DNB again, there's talks now. Listen, people are hoping, hey, maybe they'll go to Detroit on November 11th or some other dates, because they haven't been to Detroit in a while. Now, again, there's different possibilities. They may try to go to a market like Detroit that they haven't played live in a while. They may try to go to traditional. But what we have here is November 17th solidified. Or not solidified. November 17th, that's a source with a date. Mohegan Sun is where it would be. November 16th is Boston, TD Garden, most likely. The Chicago date on the 14th is going to be the United Center. DMB is too big to play Allstate Arena, to play the Wintrust Arena, where you have the Chicago Sky WNBA team, and you have also the DePaul men's basketball plays there. And I don't know if the women played there or not. I'm not 100% sure. There's talk of Omaha, Nebraska. Now, this is not solidified. Someone just brought that up. And then there's talk of Minnesota. Now, it would actually be in Minneapolis at the Target Center. It would not be at the Xcel Energy Center. They're saying, first I thought it was going to be Xcel Energy Center. Xcel Energy Center is where the Minnesota Wild play. It's in St. Paul. And Target Center is in Minneapolis. The band has played that before, and that's in Minneapolis. Those are the Twin Cities. Kind of like Dallas and Fort Worth, but Minneapolis and St. Paul are much smaller than Dallas and Fort Worth, but they are twin cities. And there is a highway split just like Dallas-Fort Worth. I think it's the same highway, I-35, just off the top of my head. When is the new album dropping? I have not heard anything about an album release date. What we have heard is that there could be an announcement in August at some point. That's what I would say. But the thing is, the sources are kind of running dry again. Now, for Come Tomorrow, people knew the day before. Just like the reschedule of 2021, people knew the day before that had tight sources. But there's no set thing on this new album. And really, again, it's giving me vibes of other projects that were scraped in 2006, the bats and such. Now, again, this is still different, but it's kind of one of those things where sources are getting information. They're kind of saying, hey, this is the timeline. And then the same sources are like, I don't know. It's quiet. We have nothing. We don't even have like a feeling that we're going to get an announcement tomorrow that it's going to drop the next day. You know what I mean? So it is, I really think something's going on with the label. Probably will announce it when the tour ends. It would be a tight turnaround because I think the album could come out when the tour ends, but it's going to be a tight turnaround because, first of all, you have everyone is touring to try to make back lost profits because 2021, not everyone went back on tour fully. But the last show is the Hollywood Bowl in September. So you would have October, November. The last full band show is Hollywood Bowl. Perhaps you announce it. Now, what could happen is the longer that they hold off this announcement, the more likely a date that's on the tour right now is in the same city as a fall tour date. I don't think they're going to, I know Mark here in Charlotte. I don't see the band going to North Carolina. I think a promoter would be wary of North Carolina because they've already done a full band show, Farm Aids in Raleigh. And I think the Carolinas, and then the Carolinas also had the Charleston shows. So that market has been flooded with Dave Matthews Band, and that's a market that's at that time of year is going to be focused on some sort of college football. It's going to be focused on potentially the NFL, and it's not going to be a good market. So and that's no shocker, right? They don't play Raleigh or Charlotte. They don't play where the Hornets play or where the Hurricanes play for fall or winter tours. But the only thing I can think of, remember, they didn't announce Farm Aid until DMB went to Raleigh for their full band show. They could not announce it because, again, it violates that idea of people may hold back and say, oh, well, I'm not going to see Dave now. I'll see him with Farm Aid and Willie Nelson. So they do that. So that's my only possibility is that there could be a show. Maybe they're going to Florida, so they got to wait after West Palm Beach. I don't know. So yeah, they played, but they haven't played PNC. The last time they played PNC, it's been a while. They didn't play it in 2018. That's the thing is, they've played PNC, but it's been, let me see when it is. It's been a while. It's been a while since I could hold my head up. If we look at Raleigh, and I absolutely hate that venue because the Whalers were taken from Hartford, Connecticut and moved to that arena. Although my cousin actually worked there at the arena. He worked when the Hurricanes won the Stanley Cup. He moved from Connecticut to North Carolina for college and never came back to live. I can look up Raleigh. PNC Arena. They played it in 2012, so it was the Away from the World. So they haven't played. Yeah, you're right, Mark. They played it in 2012. That's a decade. But maybe they want to expand, maybe not. Again, the interesting thing about this is, does the overabundance of touring encourage DMB to tour a lot, or does it have DMB high back? You have a lot of this fan base that's going to be pulled in different directions. There are so many artists that are touring, and that's going to take money away from families. Now, listen, gas has gone down, which is awesome. Shout out to gas going down. And it probably won't go back to remember, we had a pandemic. I don't want to get too political, but people are like, oh, it's still higher than it was. Listen, we had a pandemic. Nobody was driving, so gas was extremely cheap because there was no demand. So it's not going to go back to that, 2020 election time, November, December. I mean, those prices aren't going to come back. It's gone down, which is good, and hopefully it continues to stay like this or continue to drop lower. Anyway, so we'll have to see. I mean, no one knows. I am hearing Buffalo again. Buffalo is a strong, Buffalo's going to be included. Seville is possible for the fall tour. I think that Seville is going to be interesting with this post-pandemic world. Seville in 2018 did not. Seville in 2018 didn't do well as far as the upper levels. There were a lot of cheap tickets on StubHub, and some of those tickets did not sell on Ticketmaster. Now, listen, you see the show, and it's mostly full, but point is there were a lot of tickets lingering. All right, we're at an hour 32. I gotta wake up fairly early. I do want to table. We will talk tomorrow, and I didn't put this in the itinerary for today. We will talk tomorrow about the situation with Boyd. Hold everything till then. Even if you put in the comments, I'm not going to respond to it. But we'll talk about that situation. He did play with Stanley Jordan, so tune in tomorrow. We'll have a lighter show. I did want to talk about the poster thing today, but stay tuned. We will talk about that. If you guys saw, I have on my channel, I have the video of, now this was from a restaurant, live streamed it. Shout out to Justin Hayes, who kind of found that rather quickly and told me, hey, this is where it's at. I kind of just took, I took that video and I put it to YouTube. The poster of that video saw it. There's been no objections to me sharing it. And there's no monetary gain for me. I just wanted to share it on YouTube because I know a lot of you guys may not be on Facebook like that. It's easier for you to pull up YouTube. So we'll talk about that. It'll be a conversation where, I understand there's a lot of emotion and a lot of opinion, but we'll go there. So stay tuned for tomorrow. And I do have a cool, if you guys saw on Twitter, I have a cool new setup here. I have some cool little features that I can see if I can get some of this going. Oh, here we go. So you guys may not be able to see this, but I can change the color of this. I can do some pulsing here. Look at that. Got some pulsing. What else can I do? I can do this. I got a new ring light or like a halo light. Now this stuff doesn't come on as good because there's not a lot of lighting in this corner of my apartment. But I can do some cool things here. Oh, here we go. Get the red to this orange. But yeah, this is cool. No trippy there. So yeah, I'm having fun here with this little thing. There we go. That's back to normal. Oh, no, not back to normal. Let's see. Okay. Now it's back to normal. But thank you guys for tuning in. We'll try to get Mark on a little earlier tomorrow. If you are going to the shows and want to come on, DM me, message me, and we'll add you on. Again, I send you a link, like a Zoom link, and you come on here. I think everything gets better from here. Mark, I hope you and Lauren get your break frees, your stones, your break forwards, possibly, maybe a shotgun in there. I think tomorrow will be a great show. I just don't see them. I don't see them not doing some great stuff. And perhaps, perhaps they saw that the ticket sales were higher for this show, and maybe tomorrow they're going to reward the diehards who get who have night 2 tickets with a great show. I really think because even Alpine, I know Mark, I met you. It was nice to meet you and talk to you a little bit and talk to Lauren. You know, Alpine Night 2 was better. And I know Heinz just said in the chat, Alpine Night 2 had Dreaming Tree, Stone, Granny. To me, Night 1 of Alpine had that big cover. So DNB saw, I think DNB saw the sales and they said, hey, let's put the Fool in the Rain cover on Saturday. That's going to be the larger crowd. They can see the metrics of who's buying tickets, where they're buying. There's so much data on us now. They know all that. So I think they saw Saturday of Alpine. They said, hey, this is the more mainstream crowd. It's a larger crowd. Put in a cover here. Put in this here. Put in that here. Night 2 of Alpine, outside of that Girl Is You opener, which was absolutely atrocious. The rest of that show really built up. And Heinz said earlier in this chat, a lot of the Friday, Saturday shows, the night 1 is arguably better than night 2. Even SPAC, the only thing that made night 2 special at SPAC was the Bartender tour debut. And I know it's only a couple of things, but the Bartender tour debut of SPAC Night 2 plus the encore, everything else was really subpar for SPAC. Night 1 was a show that didn't have any misses. There were no bathroom break songs really for SPAC Night 1. So Heinz brings up a good point that the Friday, Saturday shows like Charleston Night 1 had Shotgun. Charleston Night 1 was a really good show. So when I look at Alpine, right, and I look at Alpine for 2022, I mean, that night 2 was just amazing, right? You have That Girl Is You, but then you have Granny Stone. I like Walk Around the Moon. I like The Ocean and the Butterfly. Maybe some people don't. Yes, you had Can't Stop, but you had Crush, Sweet, Sledgehammer, not my favorite, but Dreaming Tree, Don't Like Bayou, but you had a full band Stolen Away, A Lion Our Graves with Eric Krasno, you had a So Right, you had a little bit of a thank you outro, Ocean the Butterfly. So there were some bangers for like 2. And this could be a good point. Mark says he definitely does the set list to have variety for XM. Yes, that could definitely be a good point. But what's interesting is year over year with that Sirius XM, we're getting better Friday shows. The first year, you got some special things here or there, and you were starting to see a trend change. But the last 21 and 22, you're really seeing them do like the Stone opener. What was that? That was Mansfield. Mansfield last year was phenomenal. Now, this year was good too. We got Drive In, Drive Out. But last year, that Stone opener in the full band two-step tour debut, like that's for radio. That's to be like, hey, you need to get to Hartford. If you're in New England and you're listening to the Sirius XM stream and you're on the fence of Hartford, do that. And we saw the impact of that Sirius XM SPAC Night 1. People bought lawn tickets for SPAC Night 1. Some people even splurged on a seat. Now, listen, for Ticketmaster Platinum prices, not saying, listen, you can agree or disagree, but there was chatter on the internet. Maybe it was only 5 to 6 people I saw literally say they were going to go on a whim. But you did have people that literally went to Ticketmaster and bought a lawn ticket and said, I'm lining up early for SPAC Night 2 because of the radio. So the radio is an effective tool for this band. I think it's they renewed the partnership with them. DNB is not going to allow for a lot of things to be released, right? They're still growing. They could tomorrow have a deal with Nugs, to have all their stuff streamed. You could buy a package, right, for the tour or for individual shows. That's not their cup of tea. So DNB is still a little bit hesitant on releasing the house. You're not getting every show for replay in the soundboard quality. But shout out to the tapers like Mark, who we just talked to from West Palm Beach. you can still get taper audio, and Copper Pop puts together those awesome multicams. It is what it is. It's just one of those things, DMB's business model, which I understand a little bit, because if I'm DMB and I only have, yes, we jam and we have some unique stuff, but we don't have to the level of Fish or Humphreys McGee or Twiddle. Like they just don't have that type of variety. You're gonna pretty much get the same length of crush throughout the entire tour. Jimmy thing is gonna be around the same time. The Stone is going to be around the same. Where if you go to jam bands, they will have the same exact song twice in a tour, twice in a 3-week period. And one time Sand is 34 minutes, one time Sand is 8 minutes. Sigma Oasis jam could go for 20 minutes, or it can be a 10-minute jam. You never know. So that's one of the things why I think they just don't mix it up. I don't blame the band for doing that. And it's not a financial thing, because if they streamed every show, people would buy it. So yeah, 17 minutes for Jimmy thing, right? Yeah, you're guaranteed. Although this year they are shortening them a little bit. This was 13 minutes. That's progress. The Jimmy things this year have been slightly shorter. But there's still, when you go to a given tour, everything's around the same time. If you look at certain songs, you're not having a 41 that's 5 minutes and a 41 that's 20 minutes on the same tour. Just not happening. You have those one-off 30-minute 41, 32-minute 41s from Ottawa, Canada, of all places. But other than that, it's about the same. So thank you guys for watching. Rest in peace to Leroi Moore. I did have some opinions yesterday. I said "Lying in the Hands of God" on Instagram. I said "Lying in the Hands of God" is the ultimate tribute to Leroi. Why I Am is the antithesis of what Leroi Moore was to the Dave Matthews Band, because it's a love rock song. And there's no room for a sax in Why I Am. The other thing is, too, it's not just a rock song. Why I Am, or like an electric guitar rock song, Why I Am doesn't have room for any Roy-like part to be played. And the thing about Leroi Moore, I'll say, is this. He's the same age as my father, so I always think about my father. Like, what if I lost my father in 2008? I would have been 17/18. Like, I would have been just starting college. So I think about that, and my father is my father and his father are two. The reason I'm a Yankees fan is because of my grandfather, and he was a great role model to my father. So I think of that. And my father's from Virginia too. He was born in Virginia like Roy. So they were born the same year, in Virginia, same state. So those are kind of my connections. Again, I wasn't going to shows when Roy passed and when he had the accident. I was a more of a passive fan of the band. I remember hearing that he passed away, but it didn't hit me as much because I did not see him live. I knew who he was. I knew that he was a big part of that band, but I was not going to shows. But to me, listening like today, listening to Live Track 58, I was listening to Live Track 60, and it was Live Track 60. What am I saying? Like those shows, I hear Leroi Moore, and I'm like, listen, you don't evolve from Leroi Moore. You adapt, and you kind of take certain directions without him, but understanding that he was a big part of the band. Like, there's just the even, like I said, what's the best line or Grace? What's the best two-step? To me, a lot of these have to do with the versions where Leroi Moore was in the band. Like, some people are like, oh, I love this 20-minute two-step from Alpine. No. Leroi could play, like, I think one of the things I wish I could have seen live, and it's not necessarily the best thing that the band did during the Roy era. I would have loved to be able to experience Leroi go from the flute solo to the sax solo in real life. And I know, Mark, you've been over 200 shows, so you saw Roy, you've seen the aftermath of the band, you've seen everything. but I would have loved to see just like I feel like that moment would have really been cool for me to see him go from the flute to the saxophone, which are two different. Yes, they're both woodwinds. Yes, you can go to school and learn that stuff, but being a clarinet player for a lot of years, my uncle went to Berkeley School of Music, Boston Conservatory. Um, he's a world. My uncle's a really good woodwinds player. He teaches music in the Boston area. But understanding that it's hard, it's very rarely you can have a sax and clarinet player, but a really really good flute player, penny whistle player, and a sax like. Psh. And I said on Twitter, I said, thank you, Bradford Marsalis, for giving the blueprint for Leroi Moore to play in this rock or alternative rock universe that D&B was a part of. Branford not sang. He played in the Nothing Like the Sun album for Sting, and that's what Leroi studied. I heard this on Sirius XM Radio. He studied that album Sting was a part of, and also Branford Marsalis. He played with the Grateful Dead at the Nassau Coliseum. Eyes of the World. It's a landmark moment in jam band history. That was the first time you had this soulful dude from New Orleans. The Marsalis family is just royalty. Brantford's and Winton's father just passed away, I think last year. And I remember growing up hearing about them. My church band, we had a little church ensemble, and Winton Marsalis was our teachers. Just we learned all about him, and so anyway, Bradford Marsalis laid the groundwork. I have seen him live. I saw him my first pitch show. He was in Hartford. And then Roy, what he did with the band, the way he challenged Dave. And I think my biggest concern, and the reason I think there'll never be an album that touches the big three, Steve Lillywhite is no longer in the creative process for albums now, and Roy has passed. He challenged Dave. Said he was challenged by Roy. He was stubborn. Oh, he's a crazy, but he's my friend. So to me, it is just an element that made those things great. The big three albums is that Roy challenged Dave, and so did Lillywhite. And neither of those people are in the creative process, which says, hey, listen, they can still make good music. I'm not all about, they can't do anything. Like, I just think that without Leroi, the music will never be the same. Just listening and observing and seeing the techniques he does. Tony C says DMB is much better fan. I see. You know what? You know what's interesting? I think yes and no. Fish fans are always complaining about something. Like they're mad that there's been they're mad about the number of times Backwards Down the Number Line's been played this tour. Like not everyone, but there's always a fan that will complain to an extreme degree for a band that does a lot of set list mixing up. Like literally does so much to switch up these songs, even if it's the same song. You hear the same song twice on a tour and you're chasing all these songs. But I will say some of the Fish fans in the crowd are a lot less laid back. Some of them are crazy. Like they'll be sitting. You'll see pictures online of Fish fans in the pit or GA areas, like literally just spreading their legs out for space to mark territory. It's pretty crazy. But there's also, I've just heard from people that have been to Fish shows, like they say sometimes they're better than DMB fans, the way they let you through, the way they're, like my experiences, the two Fish shows I've been to this year, just really great people. Just really nice, kind, helpful. Is the majority. There's some great, listen, there's always those people, right? And I saw some of that stuff from a distance, but there's some pros and cons. Yeah, Tony C went to Pine Knob, and by the way, Pine Knob, apparently they weren't scanning tickets, so that was a mess. You were going through security, but they weren't scanning tickets. People were just kind of sliding in. I guess the word got out. Not many people, but people were sliding in and just packing that place up. But we'll see. And again, we're both Tony C and I. We both are going to our shows. We're gonna probably have a roundtable on that. I'm in the works on that of getting some people who are first time fish concert attendees. And Tony C's been studying fish for years. I have been studying fish for the last year or so. And we both went to our first shows this year. Me was MSG in Hartford, and Tony C was Pine Knob, his home. Well, his new home venue. Tony C's from the East Coast, like me, in Jersey, but he's been living out in Detroit for some time now. Detroit metro area. And I need to get out to Detroit because I've heard some great things about the city of Detroit. People always give a bad rap of Detroit, but in the summertime, I've heard some beautiful things about the downtown. They've changed a lot. But one of these years, I'll get out to Detroit. I'll let you know, Tony C. But the downtown area, I've seen pictures. I've seen certain things this year that I'm like, wow, I need to get out there. People talk some of the stuff that was. They have these old photos from 2008 of abandoned places. They've really built it up. And a lot of cities, like I said, I not to get on a tangent, but a lot of cities, if you go to the city, sometimes you'll actually see, like, you'll be like, oh, wow, it's pretty sketchy here. Oh, it's pretty. But a lot of people talk about Chicago. I had the best time in Chicago. And I understand, listen, there's some real stuff going on. But the south side of Chicago, going to the White Sox game, the culture at that White Sox game was just dope. The tailgate, the diversity of the fans. As a Yankees fan who goes to different venues I don't say every year, but has gone to see games in the West Coast, Central Time Zone, the East Coast. The White Sox vibe was just a Sunday night White Sox game. To me, the crowd was better than Wrigley in the sense of the crowd was so diverse. The crowd was so cool. Like I was just like kicking it there after the show, watching the kids run the bases, just chilling there, talking to some people who were in the stands. And I just love the vibe. I'm in the South Side. Listen, I know when the sun goes down, you go a couple blocks over. There's some rough stuff, but the South Side of Chicago was dope during the day when I went there. And listen, I know I'm at the White Sox game. I'm not in the streets, and I'm smarter in general just to be outside by myself, traveling. No matter where it is, north side, south side, like I'm inside. The sun goes down, I'm inside. I don't play that. But yeah, I really say go to a city before you knock it. And sometimes you may only see a certain part of the city. Yes, that's what. But you go to some of these cities people say not to go to, and although I say that, and I don't really have an interest to go to California right now. I just, and I've been to Seattle and I've seen some of that homelessness and some of that stuff, but the Midwest, the East Coast, the South, like go to the cities, experience it for yourself. Okay, so I'm just gonna wrap it up. Like I said, I gotta get to bed. But rest in peace, Leroi Moore. We're gonna pull up something. Let's see if we can get something for Leroi Moore. What we'll do, because I try to be careful with some of this stuff with the copyrights, but we'll get a picture of him. What we'll do is I'm gonna pull a tape or audio that I have. That way we don't get in trouble. I will say this too about DMB. Yes, they don't have the nugs and all that stuff like the streaming. They're pretty laid back about allowing people to put DMB content online. Like for these videos I post, like they could say, hey, you have this, we're going to pull this or we're going to pull that. When I'm like, Fish does that. They're notorious for that. But again, they make money off their streams and all that. Let's see if I need to find a torrent. All right, we're going to get to... I've done number 34 so many times from this one, so we're not going to do that. We'll do Idea of You. So I'm going to do Idea of You. Rest in peace, Leroi Moore. A very important part to me. Maybe we'll talk more about this tomorrow, but obviously the fiddle drew people in, but to me, Roy's sound on sax is one of the most important things about this band that makes it. Obviously, Carter is one of the best drummers in the world, if not the best, but the way that Roy plays the sax just blows everything out of the water. And is, Dave heard Roy play Somewhere Over the Rainbow at the bar, and he said, listen, I need to get this dude as part of my band, so we will. All right. All right. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate the support. And again, rest in peace to Leroi Moore, 1961 to 2008. Uh-oh. Hold on. Audio is not working. Give me one moment here. We're going to have to X out. Got some audio.
I'm sitting on my front step again, waiting for you to walk past here. Hope I didn't miss you today. When you gone